Times News here, and I'm here at JMC Ice Arena. The arena's been closed since the start of the season in September due to some obviously some repair work that was needed, some leaks within the system and some clogs as well. I'm here now with Scott Mitchell, Chief Executive Director and President of Erie Zoo and JMC Ice Arena. Scott, I know you have an announcement to make, and I know it's not one that our followers, our readers, and certainly the local hockey and figure skating community is going to want to hear.
It's an announcement nobody wants to hear, and not one I want to make. But unfortunately, the JMC Ice Arena will not reopen this season. We have spent countless hours trying all kinds of things to get the system up and running, and just have not had any luck. We had a sealant that we inserted, which worked very well. Then we thought maybe we should extract some of that, which took a lot of time to get it back out of the system. Once we were done with that, we pressure tested the system. So we extracted all the refrigerant out of the system and then charged the system with nitrogen and lost in excess of 65% of the nitrogen over the course of our tests. So obviously there are multiple larger leaks. We then tried to find the leaks. We tested joints, we tested fittings, we had exposed pipes we tested, we used black lights, and we consulted with people all over the country, and kind of everybody came to the agreement that it was time.
So, I mean, at this point, like I said, you've tried to do so much, nothing has worked. It's been a troublesome, situation, really from the start of last season, through this point. What was it like? What went through your mind when you realized, you've reached the point of no return, at least for now?
Yeah, my folks didn't want to give up. I had a really dedicated group. My staff are refrigeration specialists, some volunteers, a real team of people that were just really dedicated to trying to make this work. And we felt early on like we were having some success, but these other leaks became just too big for us to handle, and so it's heartbreaking. I grew up here. This was the very first day on the job was here at the ice rink 30-some years ago at the zoo. So this has been a part of my life for a long time. So obviously it's disappointing to all of us.
So now that we know what's happening now, moving forward, we know we're done for the rest of the season here, but what's the prospects of reopening in the future? Well,
we'd hope to. I'm going to have to evaluate a lot of different things. I don't know what those are yet, just to see if there are any other scenarios that would make sense. But obviously this is an ice rink and always has been, and would really be high on our list of priorities to do that. We would have to have a whole new system. We wouldn't be able to use anything that's here. We'd have new boards, new floor, new ceilings, all kinds of things. So it's a pretty big undertaking, but that would be the appropriate way to go.
What will all that cost, and what would it entail?
Yeah, best estimate would be about $2 million. We'd have to actually rip this floor up, which is not as easy as it sounds, excavate it all out, take the boards out, and then we had different type of system, plastic piping instead of metal piping, new compressors, new boards, and so it takes some time, but we've been through it before. The system was installed in 1985. I was here when it was installed, so we're familiar with it.
I know it took quite a bit of time to get to this point as it is. What state are you now in the process of just looking into pricing and different companies and so forth, what can be done moving forward?
Yeah, we've been in contact with them just today, as a matter of fact, and getting some pricing this afternoon. We're going to start meeting with some people to discuss possible options and alternatives that we can look for to help make this happen again. I know the skating community is disappointed, and many of these people I've known for most of my adult life, and I just, we put every effort in. We went above and beyond what any other facility that we're aware of did, and I know how disappointed they are, because it's an important asset for a lot of people.
When do you hope to get this back up and running? How long would it take to put in a completely new floor and system, and where will the money come from?
Those are really good questions, particularly the second one, is where will the money come from? That's what we've been working on as part of this process as I evaluate whatever could potentially be here. It would generally be done over a summer. That's what happened the last time. It took about the full summer I think we closed a little early and opened a little later.
How long ago was that?
That was 1985.
That's right.
So it will take the better part of a summer, but it can be done in a full summer.
So is the plan hopefully to be back up and running either at the start of next season in September or around this time?
It's a little too early to predict that yet because a lot of it depends on the funding. You know, how we come about that and how do we get to that $2 million number is the real question.
And what are some of the potential options in regards to funding?
Gosh, there could be all kinds of things, for everything from capital campaigns to grants to state funding to there's just a myriad of possibilities we try to look at. We just really haven't gotten that far into it yet because we just kind of come to this conclusion just recently.
So obviously nothing from a physical perspective. Actually redoing this rink can be done before all that's in place, I imagine.
Probably, yeah, because there might be other uses for the rink in the interim, and we don't know what those are yet, but we wouldn't want to start tearing things up until we knew for sure what we were going to do with it.
I guess you mentioned obviously keeping this as a rink, as it's been for 5 decades now, you know, is one of the higher priorities. Is it number one on the list at this point?
I think so. With the board discussions we've had, it's a pretty positive conversation about the rink, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of love for this place on our board, and so that's what we're exploring first. And if that's not feasible, we'll look at other options too.
I guess is preliminarily speaking, how feasible can it be given the undertaking and the price point as well?
Yeah, it still depends on the money. I really can't give you a percentage because until we evaluate that, I don't know at this point.
What other potential options, perhaps more cost-effective options, could there be for this facility?
I haven't even got that far yet because we've been focused solely on getting this place up and running. And so over the next few days, next few weeks, we'll start to evaluate that, and then I'll make presentations to the board based on, I'll have to do cost analysis of this is what this would cost and what it would generate, and this is what that would cost, and all of those kinds of due diligence things that you need to do.
Given that price tag, at least general price tag that you gave me earlier, that $2 million mark, your thoughts on, is that going to be feasible from a funding perspective to get that kind of money to redo this?
I always have faith in our community, so I would hope it's feasible. We haven't even reached out to anybody yet, and so I really don't have a sense of that yet. But hopefully within the next month or so, I'll have a better idea of what's available and what's out there.
We've seen the impact already, both last season and certainly the start of this season on the local hockey and figure skating community. What could the long-lasting impact be, especially if JMC doesn't reopen?
Well, I don't know because I'm just not sure of what their intents are, what their uses are, what their needs are. I know what we've used here at the ice rink forever and ever. Most of these people have had contracts with us for 50 years, so I can base my decisions based on those contracts. But obviously, it's a changing environment in our community right now, so. I just feel bad for them because this has been a nightmare for them just as much as it has been for us. And just
any parting thoughts as to what, as the process that lies ahead? I mean, it's going to be a pretty daunting task.
It will be, no matter what we do. But just as we did, we went above and beyond. And in my heart, I know we did everything we could do to try to get this place up and running. We'll do the same for whatever we move forward with.
Scott, thank you very much. Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right. Yep.
How many hours were contracted out?
Oh, I don't have a clue what that number is off the top of my head. One of my folks I could probably get that from her. She's calling all those people right now.